what do you do if you just have too many big rocks? That's not the same now. You can't just say, well, put them in first. It's like, yeah, but they might just not fit.
I want you to talk a little bit more about this process and this analogy of the big rocks. This is something that Stephen Covey had popularized in the 90s, that you've also talked about extensively. And I want people to understand that first, so then we can make the transition to talking about how to make things even more effortless.
Yes, I mean it's a valid and powerful metaphor. It was popularized by Stephen Covey, but of course it predates him. It's been around hundreds of years, I suppose. And the story is of a mentor that comes along and says, "Okay, here's the container. Your job is to put that sand, those small rocks, those big rocks in the container. And if you put the sand in first, then the small rocks, then the big rocks, then it doesn't fit. Just geometrically, it doesn't." And the idea, and Stephen would do this on stage, and he'd say, "Okay, well, let's put the big rocks in first. Let's work out of a different paradigm." And you put the big rocks in first, then the small rocks, then the sand, and it fits. And most people have heard of the big rocks theory. And I would say that essentialism is somewhat analogous to that you're saying, look, get the essential things clear, put them first. Maybe you don't even put the small rocks in, or even the sand. You don't even have to bother with it. You just get the most essential things, and that's the way you focus. And so I believe in that. I still believe in that. But I also found myself, partially because, and ironically, because essentialism did well, and it opened up so many opportunities for me, that even with being more selective than I'd ever been, I still found myself going, this, I'm not quite sure how you put this in. And it begged a question for me, which was, what do you do if you just have too many big rocks? That's not the same now. You can't just say, well, put them in first. It's like, yeah, but they might just not fit. And then in the midst of that already experience, then one of my children became very, very sick, and very inexplicably sick. So neurologists were being involved, and she was taking on symptoms like would be similar to Parkinson's disease, and this tremendous free falling capability. And that was in addition to what was going on. And so that's sort of the premise for why I realized, well, we've got to go beyond essentialism and go deeper into some of the things that are within these ideas. And that was sort of the birth of the Effortless. I should say, because otherwise I'll maybe forget to say, that 2 years after all these problems started with my daughter, she is well. She is doing very well now. But the experience taught me things perhaps I couldn't have learned in any other way. And one of them was this idea that there are two ways to execute. So even after you've identified, okay, well, here are the rocks, here's the essential stuff. If an overachiever might still take a rock and overcomplicate it, add layers onto that rock. Like, it's essential, the thing is important, but you might overcomplicate it, add lots of, just bells and whistles that make it harder to fit in your life. And so if you can start to strip away not just the non-essential stuff, but the overcomplications that make it harder than necessary to get the right things done, it can make a huge difference, and it did to us.